All right, so we're going to start with a kind of warm up. It's 1.1. All right, we're going to talk about inequalities and how do we write them, how do we understand them, and how do we graph them. All right. So first off, we got to start with the signs and the what do they mean. Okay, some of you probably remember this, some maybe not. But as you're reading an inequality sign, everybody remembers that, oh yeah, one of those is greater than, one of those is less than, one of those is greater than or equal to, and one is less than or equal to. But people don't remember which one is which. So make sure when you're thinking about this that you're thinking about if I'm reading from left to right, right? If I'm moving my pen from left to right, which side do I touch first? I am touching the open or the bigger side first. That means I would read this as greater than. This side is bigger than this side, right? So this opening is bigger than this side, where it's little and together, and so whatever's on this side has to be the greater number. Okay, so thinking about reading from left to right, greater than. So what does it mean? It means greater than. All right, and some key words we're going to see when we have word problems would be words like more than, right? Usually they don't actually use the word greater than, but they will have a word problem where something says this is more than that. Things like higher than, okay, or words like above. Those all mean that I'm looking for a greater than symbol. And what does it look like on the number line? Well, let's see, if this is 0 and this is 2, if I'm trying to make an inequality that says x is greater than 2, I'm going to put an open circle at the number 2, open because I am not including the number 2. To be greater than 2, I have to be a number bigger than that. So 2 is not an answer. 2 is not greater than 2. 2 is equal to 2. And so I would have to put a number here like 3, right? 3 is greater than 2, the next number on the number line. That would make sense. Or 2.1, right? If I put 2.1, that's a decimal, which is greater than 2. So what we're going to deal with in a second on the next video is solving equations that have inequalities in them. And so we're going to see things like this, where it says x plus 2 is greater than 4. This is a very simple inequality, but we're going to solve it just like we would solve if there was an equals sign here. So just because we're having an inequality and it's greater than doesn't mean we're going to do anything different in the steps to solve. So here I have a plus 2. I'm going to solve by using a minus 2, just like I would in solving an equation, and I'm going to cancel those out. And I have an x is greater than 4 minus 2 gives me 2. And so I would get this solution, and I would put the number 2 on my number line, and then I would say, okay, where are my solutions greater than? Well, the numbers are greater than 2 in this direction. This is where 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and to infinity is located. Remember, I'm going this way. That doesn't mean that only 3, 4, and 5 are the answers, right? I could have any millions and billions and infinite number of answers that fit this inequality. Any number greater than 2. So let's talk about the next symbol, greater than or equal to. So greater than or equal to. I know students often like to say greater than and equal to. It is not both. It is greater than or equal to. And if you're thinking about this symbol over here, I'm going to put a little post-it note here because I want to draw this, but I don't really want to think about it. If you want to draw it on your paper, that's fine. There's two symbols here. There's the greater than symbol and there's the equal to symbol. And they've put them together into one symbol. Do you see how this symbol, greater than, if I add to it an equal to, it's a little bit slanted here, right? But there's an equal to right there. So you're putting two things together. There's two pieces to this, and so there are two words that go with it. Okay, so greater than or equal to is what we see here, right? It is both greater than and equal to, which means it's greater than or equal to. All right, so we've taken those, we've combined them into one symbol. So what words are we looking for? These are a little tricky when you're talking about the greater than or equal to ones, because I'm talking about a limit, and a limit means that I need to be higher than that. So if I have at least this many, you see the word least and you think it must mean less, but actually it means that I can go no lower than that point, right? So if I'm saying I need at least 2 people to help me move this desk, I could have 2, I could have 3, but I can't have 1, right? I need at least 2, so I need greater than 2 people. So the word here, least, sounds like it's talking about less, but it's actually talking about no less than, right? And so that's another one that you will hear is no less than. right? Meaning I need that number or more. Another word you might hear is minimum. Again, it sounds like you're talking about something small, but you're talking about the small thing or greater, right? You cannot go any lower than that number. And sometimes sometimes you will see the word the top, right? So at least, no less than, minimum, top, all of those are words that you might hear in a word problem. So let's use a different example here. I'm going to use 0 there, and I'm going to say -3 is here on my number line. So let's use the example, right? X is greater than or equal to -3. Well, if I'm trying to make that inequality, I'm going to make a circle at -3, but this time I'm including 3 in my answers because 3 could also be an answer. And so when you have that inequality equal to part, this is going to be a closed circle or including the number 3, -3. In this case, I did not include the number 2, so I left it open. I'm still going in the greater than direction. So where are the numbers greater than -3? They're going in this direction. All right, so here's an example of an equation which would end in a -3. So we're going to say x plus 2 is greater than or equal to -1. And so again, I'm going to subtract -2 from both sides, and I will cancel those out, and I'll get x is greater than -3. All right, so that is the graph that would go with this after I solve this equation. Sorry, after I solve this inequality, I should get that answer. All right, so let's keep moving. They get a little faster as we go through. This one, again, I'm moving from left to right. When I touch the first part of this symbol, I touch the small side. So that means this one says less than. And we can go ahead and fill in the last one then, right? This is the less than or equal to. Or equal to. All right, so some words that you might hear for those ones, right? You might hear the word smaller than. Right? You might hear the word fewer than, or the words, I should say. You might hear the words lower than. You might hear below. All right. Those are some ones we might see. In the greater, less than, or equal to, we're going to have those opposite ones that we had here, right? At least meant it had to be bigger than that number. So at most is going to mean the opposite. I cannot go higher than that. I can have at most 25 students in my classroom. I can have 24 or 20, but I can't have 27 because I don't have enough desks. So I can have at most 27 students would be less than or equal to 25 or 27, whatever I gave as the example there. Maximum, opposite of minimum, right? So less than or equal to means I can go no higher than that. Bottom, no more than. Okay, all words that I might use when I'm looking at less than. All right, so let's come up with our couple examples. Here's a 0. Let's go, we'll do 2 again. If we're going less than 2, right, we are open circle at 2, and we're going in the smaller, where the smaller numbers are, right? 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3, right? Those are all less than that. So let's come up with an equation that's going to work to give us a less than 2. We can use a different one. Let's do x minus 4 is less than, and then we're going to do -2. Okay, so again, we're solving an equation, so we are just solving an inequality just like we solve an equation. So we're going to solve like this. Add the 4, and we get x is less than -2 plus 4 is +2. This one, let's do another one. Here's 0. We'll do -1, 2, 3, 4 in this case, -4, okay. This one was x is less than 2, right? This one is going to be x is less than or equal to -4, okay? So we're going less than or equal to -4, which means I'm going to move in the negative direction from there. But again, my circle here includes -4 because it has the equal sign in there. So I'm going to color it in, and then I'm going to draw in this direction, an arrow. So let's come up with an equation that gives you that. Let's say x plus 2 is less than, and then if I'm subtracting, I need to do -2. Okay, so this is -2 and -2. When I solve, I cancel these. I get x is less than -4. So we have some examples of equations that would end like that, and this would be the graph that I would make of that equation. So this is just the basics of what these equations will look like when you're solving them and what the graph will look like after. So there's going to be a quick little worksheet on the back of this that you guys are going to try, and then from there we'll go on to solving some harder ones. So take a moment and check those out.